Whoa, whoa, look who's inside again. We're out to look for a reason to talk about all of the books I've read in 2024. Okay, so please just don't look at the calendar and see what date is it today, because this is, for me, the 28th of January. And I'm just about making a video talking about all of the books I've read in 2024. Hey, at least I did this. And I'm not doing this for you at all. It's really for me cataloging my reading journey, because I do want to read more books, and I have read more books. In fact, 2024 was the year I read the most. Thank you. I really didn't prepare a speech because I don't deserve it. 21 books a year? Come on, Ray, you should be doing better. Because as a professionally proclaimed book lover, weird title to give myself, I know, I don't deserve it. Because I know a whole heap of other people who read like 40, 50, 100, sometimes, I don't really believe that, books in a year, and yeah, good for them. I'm just proud of myself for following it through and reading the most I have in a year so far. Anyways, enough yapping. I'm going to be talking about this pile of books chronologically. The Morning Star, and the rest of them, I guess I could count it. The Rising Trilogy. Let me just give a quick succinct thoughts on these books, because, man, that of Lycos just really ignited my passion of just wishing that I was Irish. Because I interchanged between reading and listening to the audiobook, and oh man, Timothy Jerry Reynolds.
Hail Reaper.
I love your voice and accent. It has just such a fervor understanding of the grand scale of an intergalactic war. It is a sci-fi book. Let me just get that out of the way clear if you don't know anything about this book. It's epic, it's tragic, it's everything in between. And I know it's cliche, but it is honestly just Game of Thrones in space. What more compliment can I give towards this series? Pierce Brown, I love you, and I'm going straight towards Iron Gold. Okay, next one. Cantik the Luka. Oh man, I am going to make a dedicated video about this because I just have so much thought that I just cannot put into this video alone. Next one, Dune Messiah. Funny, I finished this in like March because it was basically the best film I watched last year, and it is a crime that it's only nominated for 5 nominations. Travesty. Anyways, Dune Messiah. I fell right into the trap on why Frank Herbert wrote this book in the first place. Something about grand scale fantasy is just so gratifying and satisfying to read that I just can't help but rooting for the main character. His tragic backstory, his slow and steady rise to gain his power is such a great crescendo for the story, and I really enjoyed it. But that's not what Frank Herbert's point was. Basically a cautionary tale of the dangers of martyrdom. But now I totally get how this book got the backlash it got. It truly painted Paul in a whole different light. I really understand why Frank wrote this book, and it's such a crazy masterstroke to be able to just pivot the storyline of the public perception of Paul Atreides at one point and just completely painting him into the villain that I guess he always was. As the great messiah of Arrakis, he must fall. Let's go into a lighter mood because I finish... Oh my god, was this book hilarious. What can I say? I love British humor. I wish I had half, even less than an I'll settle for this guy's wit. Oh my god. The complete understanding of posthumous irony is also really interesting, considering this book was released in, let me check, in the 1980s. Are you serious? The Brits' dry humor is just, I just gravitate towards it a lot. Yeah, it's hilarious. Next one, Seperti Dendam, Rindu, Harus, Dibayar. Another Eka book. I do have a favorite, huh? I have pointed this out aloud, that I really don't like the self-righteous, annoying, arrogant, and just really rebellious character archetype, until I realized what he was talking about, and it's really, really fucked up. Yeah, honestly, the whole catalyst of this story is just so insane that it just made me want to read more. Really fast paced, Just a lot of action, really great premise. Again, Eka Kurniawan really masters the disgusting prose that I, for some reason, enjoy. It's not even that disgusting, but just the blunt harshness of his prose is just something I really admire and I really enjoy. I guess that's why he is, no doubt, my favorite Indonesian writer. Next one, okay, I gotta admit, the reason I bought this book is because of the cover. And let me just say, could you really say no to Julianne Moore? Exactly. Besides that, honestly, because I know what this book was really about, I had just such a profound empathy towards people who suffers and are around Alzheimer's and dementia. It's such a tragic and just horrifying thought that having your brain deteriorating is just such a terrifying concept. I really enjoyed this. The Poppy War is next, another fantasy series that now is told from a really interesting point of view that I rarely ever read, based on the era of mid-20th century China. Yes, which I don't read a lot on, but definitely opened my eyes on, again, the atrocities of war at that time. Happens a lot, huh? Yeah, and this story definitely has a direct equivalent of the Chinese and the Japanese that is portrayed. It is a grimdark series with a really, really harsh and brutal magical system. Basically like Avatar and the Last Airbender, but definitely not for kids. Yeah, it just left me really uncomfortable, which the best books often do. And it shows its strides by showing some grand depictions of horror, which I enjoy a lot. The next one, Normal People by Sally Rooney. Oh man, did she absolutely nails the just slow descent of depression that a person like Connell would go through, depicted as someone who peaked in high school, which is, oh man, such a tragic end for anybody. The constant circumstance and serendipity that stops them from having a genuine relationship. The scene where Marianne presents herself to Connell, where she was asking for him to choke her. It was just such a vivid portrayal of submissiveness and how it scared the living shit out of Connell, which is so great, which I absolutely love. It really paints the uncomfortable nature and how everything that happens towards Marianne is definitely justifiable for her to be that way. And fantastic portrayal of a really weird relationship between two main characters who are so clearly deep in love. Next one, Pulang by Leila S. Chudori. Okay, here's a spicy take for any Indonesians here who knows of her work. I absolutely prefer this rather than La Bercerita. It's just more cohesive, it has better plot points, it has better characters, and it's not led by a really annoying self-righteous guy, like I've mentioned before. Those characters really irks me, so it's still a great novel, but I recommend Pulang better. Yeah, with the backdrop being 1960s Indonesia, which is a very, very interesting time to be Indonesian, it is definitely a politically charged book. It just has such a great hook with the father-daughter relationship. There was just such a fascinating parallel where Dimas was compared towards one of the characters from the Mahabharata story. If you know it, Ekalaya. The way Leila Chudori really portrayed the parallels between Dimas and Ekalaya was just so honest and really sincere. It's just so beautiful. Honestly, that's the word I would use, beautiful parallels. And then the story kind of delved into another romance, which I don't really care for. But that part, father and daughter relationship, definitely A+. That's why I would recommend this book rather than the other. Next one, the Eka Kurniawan's essay on Pramoedya and Toer. I use this book a lot on my Eka Kurniawan video, and it's honestly, if you want to read just basically his thoughts, Eka's thoughts on why Pramoedya and Toer is such a great Indonesian writer, it's such a great lens into his background, his story, why he writes, how he views his writings, and yeah, just really great essay. Next one, hey, Hujan by Tere Lie. I just gotta be honest, this book's not for me. And yeah, of course I should expect that, because it literally says here, I mean, I don't know if you can see this, but it literally does say novel remaja, a teenage novel. If it gets even a 1% of Indonesian teenagers to read at least one book, which then the 1% of the 1% could maybe then lead on to just read one more book outside of the teenage stories, that would be great. Thank you, Lia, because you are everywhere, literally. Especially in Gramedia, you know. You Indonesians know what I'm talking about. Next one, 100 Years of Solitude. I don't have the book for it because I listened to the audiobook version of it. Yeah, I had to read this book because of Cantik and Luka's clear inspiration to draw us upon from 100 Years of Solitude. And yeah, what do you expect me to say? That it's not good? That it's not a literary classic? Obviously it's good. But I do have a gripe with it because me listening to the audiobook version I guess didn't really help. But oh my god, that's the name. Jose, Arcadio, and Buendia just ruined the canon inside my head. I mean, look at the family tree. Just look at it. Putting one in front of the other and just mishmashing it all over the place and having almost like 15 different iterations of the names. It's insane. I kind of lost track, I gotta be honest. And yeah, it's just such a fantastic portrayal of continued strive for technological innovation, political identity, societal structure, and just really great patterns of magical realism settings in it. It really does remind me a lot of Murakami's work, but it just have some insanely beautiful proses, especially with the Raining Flowers one, which just really touched me in ways that I guess no other book rather than magical realisms ever could replicate for me. And one of the fathers of science fiction himself, Isaac Asimov, obviously. I, Robot. It's crazy to think that considering how prolific he was at the time in like the 1950s. But other than him being one of the most influential writers of all time, I really like how this book is set, especially for the inventor Susan Calvin, who had to iron out some kinks in the 3 laws of robotics. It's just such an interesting take how these 3 laws would interconnect and how they would relate with each other, and some really wacky, yeah, it is quite wacky and philosophical kind of way, you know. Really interesting, really enjoy it. Another audiobook, Dimsum Terakhir by Clara Ng. The story is set and told from the perspective of 4 Chinese Indonesian daughters of a father who is slowly dying from an illness. I will rant and explain more on why I find Indonesian prose and literature to be really a problem for me. Again, I just need more bluntness and just interesting prose that does sound a bit more casual and just something that's not bombastic. And Clara Ng's Dimsum Terakhir is definitely that, which I really enjoy. Next one, The Handmaid's Tale. Hooey, I do think I have my favorite genre. Dystopians, man. And it's just a crazy feat for Margaret Atwood to be able to write something that is so out there that it should be considered as satirical, and instead made it to be this really ominous case study on how men are able to objectify women in such a tragic and disgusting tales. For girls who just even have the basic human function of reproducing is just completely dehumanized to the point where they are just considered to be carriers of their general's babies. It's insane. And I also really enjoy the constant teetering of the unreliable narrator device. It's so good. I love it, especially the ending. Fantastic. Iblis, Menjelma, Senapan, Berburu. Another Indonesian book. I'm actually keeping my promise. But is my Indonesian actually getting better though? I really enjoy the simplistic prose and at its core a simplistic story as well about an old cop who is faced with constant struggle towards finding peace. And I really enjoy how slow paced it is and how a simple act of humanistic desire of finding peace, especially in this case of being able to do a traditional turkey dance, but also being faced with some a little bit of sprinkling of magical realism settings, which is also always a bonus for me. Yeah, but overall, definitely enjoy, definitely recommend. And the last 2 books I'll also put in together, Game of Thrones Season 3. It's just really gratifying, you know, that I could just take as long as I want to read this whole series, because I've been reading this for like the past 4 years, I guess. And I don't really have to rush, because you know what? I'm probably going to finish this series 5 years down the line, and The Winds of Winter will still not come out yet. And let me just savor the story, man, because I really don't want to remind myself on how Game of Thrones ended. The show, I mean, of course. But again, the story, man. Just give me some multi-layered characters with a grand backdrop of epic kingdoms fighting against each other and just, amen. And And it definitely takes a lot more time for the characters to stew in their own horrendous actions and consequence they go through. It just definitely is better. Definitely the books. It definitely just is. Anyways, yeah, that's all the books I've read in 2024. And I'm just going to be doing this, I hope, yearly, so I can just track my progress and just have a reason for me to talk and just make a video and rant, and of course point out the books I really enjoy, and maybe one of my recommendations could somehow reach your shelf one day. So yeah, that's all of the book I've read so far, 2024. Talk to you later. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.